Yes, I do. Thank you, Mr. President. I rise today to speak on the proposed Senate Republican budget. I believe that this budget that is presented is really our pathway forward for the state of Connecticut. It's a move in the right direction. That's the direction of sustainability out of necessity, a restoration of confidence, and confidence that the leaders in government know what the problems are, see the financial despair that's facing our state, and that we have a plan to fix it going forward. Not just for those who are living here now, but for those who will live here in the future, our future generations, my children, my grandchildren, your grandchildren. This budget is the only budget that's been presented that has been vetted by the Office of Fiscal Analysis line item by line item. It does things like increase dollars for education, takes care of those who are the most needy and the most vulnerable in our society here in Connecticut. It restores mental health care, substance abuse care, and restores funding for those who have intellectual disabilities. There are significant changes for our seniors here in Connecticut, with a proposal to reduce the tax that they pay right now on Social Security, and eventually phase out the tax that they pay on their pensions. We are one of few states in the nation that tax both of those things. It provides consistency and accuracy for our municipalities so they know exactly what they're going to be getting in the years to come. As a former mayor, I can tell you that's critical in your planning, especially now as we hear on a daily basis from our mayors and selectmen asking us in the legislature, us as the leaders, why we can't get our budget done so they can set their budgets. It supports economic growth, which we desperately need here in Connecticut. It restores funding for parks. It increases tourism dollars, and we all know that tourism here in Connecticut is one of our economic engines. It strives to make Connecticut a more attractive place, not only for businesses to come and to try to set up roots here, but for our residents that are here to stay. We know and we hear time and time again that people are leaving Connecticut. We've seen it in the revenues that we have gotten just recently, the numbers that are in. What this budget does not do, and I can't be any more clear, is that it does not end collective bargaining. We have heard that over and over from the hundreds of emails that I have gotten saying, please don't get rid of collective bargaining. This budget does not do that. Again, this does not get rid of collective bargaining. Some of the things that this budget does, which I think are really important for people listening to understand and to wrap their arms around, is that we do this without raising taxes. We have figured out a way to reallocate the funds that we have in a more efficient, fair manner here in Connecticut. We restore things that have been cut under the other proposed budgets, things like Meals on Wheels, funding to the school-based health clinics, for me, which are one of the most important things that we can do for our youth. It restores funding for rape crisis centers, community health centers, nutrition assistance, family resource centers. It restores funding for the most needed right now in the middle of our opiate crisis, the mental health boards and mental health services. And it does not reduce burial benefits for those who have passed away with nothing left. As far as tourism, this particular budget proposes a transfer of 1.5% of the current hotel occupancy tax to be dedicated for tourism. I used to sit on the Economic Competitiveness Commission for the state of Connecticut, and we went through a process there where McKinsey, which is a company out of Stanford who does economic studies for countries, gave us the landscape of Connecticut. One of the areas which they had promoted for us to focus on is tourism. This is a great self-fulfilling prophecy. 1.5% of the hotel tax going to tourism, where the people that know what they're doing can use the money in the way that they find the most effective. Then when they grow tourism and there's more people coming and staying in our hotel tax, they will increase their revenue. This budget recognizes that this state and everyone in this circle needs to rethink the way we deliver government. There's just no other way. And I'm going to leave you with a statistic, which I think is really interesting. In the late 80s, there was 3.1 million people in Connecticut. We had about 28,000 state employees. The size of government has just gotten too large, too big, that we can see here in Connecticut that it's actually collapsing upon itself because we are financially bankrupt, in so many words. Right now, we have that same amount of people living in Connecticut, approximately. We have close to 50,000 state employees. I think state employees do a great job, but we have to look at how we streamline and deliver the services of government so that people can afford to live in our state. This budget does it. It does it without tax increases. It does it without layoffs. It does it without getting rid of collective bargaining. And I will support this budget wholeheartedly when eventually it comes to the floor for a vote. And right now,